Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Yesterday's show, I told you that we were being watched. like, like, like something under a microscope. We were being watched by somebody from the NFDC. Well, two more people from the NFDC were in my LinkedIn profile yesterday. Yeah, they really were. So, I don't know if they're back today, but if they are, good morning to the NFDC. Good morning to Hemel Hempstead. Let me try a little something. Listen. Can you hear this? This is a voice speaking about and to the demolition industry. You really should try it sometime. Good morning, everyone. How let's set the tone for the day. Good morning. How is everyone? Hope you're all fit and well. Dan Cullen enjoying our little smidgen of the Beastie Boys. Yeah, nothing. What can possibly go wrong when your show starts with the Beastie Boys? I do need to tell you this. Gary Muirhead actually checked into this show 8:42 last night. It was a full 14 hours early. You need to get out more, mate. You really do. Hiago Vinicius, 23, says, sorry, I don't speak your language. Sorry, mate, I don't speak yours either, but thank you for being here. He says, Oppa. What is Oppa? Where in the world would somebody called Vinicius be? I realise there's a Vinicius Junior plays from Real Madrid. He's Brazilian. Are you watching from Brazil? Brazil? I don't know. We shall see. Let's have a look. Who else do we have here? Dan Cullen is hot off the mark. He was here at precisely 10 o'clock. Chris Ford, who is normally tardy. He pitches up kind of when he feels like it. Absolutely on the money this morning. Good morning, my friend. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Mark Whiting is here. We now have official permission rather to go ahead with the show because no show is complete without. Apparently, listen, I don't know why people turn up before the show has even started, but apparently there are rules, and apparently that doesn't count as it's before 12 a.m. Who made that a rule? Who on earth decided that was a thing? I don't. Listen, on the basis that I make all this up as I go along, I'm pretty sure you do too. So yeah, crack on. Very quickly, we are, as you're well aware, we are a public service broadcaster. So don't forget, the clocks go forward Saturday night. This Saturday, they go forward by an hour. Obviously, spring forward, leap back. We all know the rules, but that does mean that my usual 6:30 Sunday start is actually going to be a 5:30 alarm, and I'm already knackered. I can't tell you. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to that. Not. Anywho, it is Friday. We need to crack on with the show because I'd like to get you all out of here and off to your families and friends to go and spend your weekend without listening to me droning on. So let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Yeah, I'm going to go back to this from Dan very quickly. Welcome to the NFTC. They might learn something. No. That's not how it works, you see. The way that it works is, unless it was invented in Hemel Hempstead, it doesn't count. I didn't make the rules. Same as you deciding that you have to be after 12 a.m. To actually check into the show. I didn't make the rules, but that's the way they work. Dan Cullen says, last day with this company, had a little issue yesterday. No turning back. Sorry to hear that. Because I thought you were pretty well settled there, actually. But hey, listen. Have digger license will travel. Gary Muirhead says, I think I'll get in tonight at midnight for a Monday show. Good morning, the NFTC. You want to know what a true voice of the demolition industry sounds like? Stay tuned. Yeah, do stay tuned. I mean, everyone stay tuned. Thank you for that, Gary. Well, on the basis that you came on their radar yesterday, I'm pretty sure that me and you are probably off the Christmas card list. Hey, not a problem. I didn't get one from them last year either. So anyway, let's crack on, shall we? It is Friday, the 28th of March. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition and the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. Very focused today, very tech focused. So in today's show, Komatsu's intelligent machine control just keeps getting smarter. Wish I could say the same for me. Caterpillar Tech mitigates machine collisions. Liebherr grants operators the gift of all-round vision. And Wacker, this it's not technology, but Wacker Neuson still doing what Wacker does best. Plus, in my morning monologue today, what's not in the headlines, which will hopefully make a lot more sense when we get to it. But before we get to that, we do have to address the small matter of today's mystery machine. Yeah, going into one of the final rounds. What have we got? We got obviously show today, show Monday. I think I can't remember what the dates are, but I think we've got a couple left, and I am one match in the lead at the moment. And I'm going to say good morning to Steve Williamson, who's just joined us over on Instagram. Unusually, he's normally on Facebook or YouTube or something like that, but he's actually. I'm assuming he is working live, but he has actually said morning all and happy Friday. You've arrived just in time, Steve, to check out the Mystery Machine. Although if you're watching this show on a mobile device, which I'm guessing you probably are, this won't be easy. I'll tell you in advance, I have altered the colour today. I haven't done for the past few days, but this one was a little bit too obvious, so I've altered the colours. There you are. Even if you can't see the thing fully, I'm fairly sure you can identify the fact that that's a bit of bucket. Does that help in any way? We'll show you a bit more in just a moment. While we're doing that, did I? Yes, I did post the question of the day. Let me remind you what that question of the day is, and then we'll start to address it. Yeah, our question of the day today comes once again. He is like my saviour, I have to be honest. Our resident quizmaster, Mr. Gary Muirhead, and his question is this: what is the one thing you'd like to achieve before you die? Gave this one a bit of thought, and mine is probably recognition. Recognition. I'm more than happy with the audience we've built. I love the reach and the influence we have. I like the fact that I can, speak about these things on a global basis. But a lot of that is based purely upon notoriety. There are certain circles that say, "Oh, that Mark Antony, he tells it like it is," or more specifically, "That Mark Antony, he just upsets the apple cart or ruffles feathers." I'd quite like someone to recognise that. Well, A, I'm doing all this for quite selfless reasons, actually, and B, behind all the bluster, the anger, and the frustration, there's actually a bloke who can write a bit. Quite like people to recognise that because fair dues. I do have a bit of a turn of phrase, as you'll see a bit later on when we get to our morning monologue. Uh, good shout, Chris Ford. What would you like to achieve before you die? Immortality. Would you though? Would you? I'm genuinely asking. Would you? I mean, if I could have locked in immortality when I was about 25, yeah. But would I want to lock in, living forever as a 60-year-old largely decrepit person? Not sure I would. Not sure I would. Who else do we have here? Oh, okay, let's go back to the mystery machine. We've got that. Dan has gone for the Komatsu WA180. I wouldn't put before you a machine and then give you a clue with the hat. That's not the way we work. Mickey's here as well. Morning, Mick. How are you doing, mate? Linda Scott says recognition is good. Yes, as I say, it would be quite nice. Somebody said to me, no, I'll tell you. It was a guy called Dave Darcy. He was managing director of ERIF. He was also the president of the National Federation of Demolition Contractors, the best in my time there, actually. And he once said to me, "How do you go about choosing your victims?" He actually asked. I'd get up in the morning and think, right, who can I piss off today? Not true. Not true. I mean, the absolute truth is people put themselves in the firing line by their inactions or their actions or whatever it might be. But that, unfortunately, that is a bit like how I'm perceived. Yeah, going back to our question of the day, Dan Cullen says, "Happiness and completeness." Wow, that's, very philosophical. Steve Williamson says, "To visit and see everything I've got on my bucket list." Now, speaking of Steve's bucket list, I don't know if you remember, but, about a year ago, he was on the effing and jeffing. He wasn't, but he was quite upset. He'd been invited to go up to the Volvo facility in Eskilstuna. I've been. It's brilliant. The company are brilliant. The machines are brilliant. The facility's brilliant. You'd have had a great time. Unfortunately, it went into his inbox and then straight over into spam, so he missed it. As a result, he didn't go. Guess who got an invite again yesterday? Guess who's going to Eskilstuna? Your main man, Steve Williamson. Steve, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. You will have an absolute blast. Don't get me wrong. I know you're going on an influencer trip and I'm normally on the press trips. If they do them in the same format, that they really do cram it in. You literally arrive, dinner, breakfast, blast, 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 machines, back in the car, and then you're back home again. So take it in. Have a camera strapped around your neck all the time you're there because it is very, very fast. And before you know it, you're on the flight on the way back home again. But while you're there, you'll have a fantastic time. And Steve says, made yesterday a great day. I'm sure it did. And you've got a better day to come. I think it's June you're going, isn't it? You will have an absolute blast. I've just seen Garvin at Mostly Diggers just popped into the chat. He's been. He'll tell you. He'll tell you exactly what it's like. Apparently, there's going to be new machines getting revealed. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. Mick says, question of the day, if it counts, would love to open the lid to see who turns up. Yeah, wouldn't that be good? Funnily enough, oh, apparently Garvin is actually on the same trip by the sound of it. I don't know. Well, I mean, they do them over a period of days. Whether your paths will cross, I don't actually know. But he says, "I'll see you there, Steve." Fantastic, great to see. Great to see these people. I mean, Garvin and Steve and various other people really do put some graft into their various social media channels, and it's fantastic that the likes of Volvo do actually recognise that. We're kind of us folks in the press, we kind of expect that kind of thing, but I think it's fantastic to see them reaching out. And I've got to be honest, Steve's opinion and Garvin's opinion way more heft than mine has. I'm just a keyboard jockey. I'm absolutely delighted for you, fellas. So good luck to you. Hope you have a fantastic time. Send us some photographs, would you? Yeah, just go back to this one very quickly. Mick says, if it counts, I'd love to open the lid and see who turns up. Obviously, this time last week, I was at my father-in-law's funeral. Packed. I mean, and this sounds like the sort of thing that you say, but only vaguely mean. I mean this 100%. At the crematorium this time last, well, a couple of hours time, but last week, my father-in-law, bear in mind he's 84, a lot of his friends would have long since departed. Some people couldn't make it because they're very elderly themselves. Standing room only, genuinely standing room only. I think I'll be able to hold mine probably in a phone box. But there you are. Linda Scott is after a deep thought generational. After a deep thought, generational wealth is better. Generational wealth, yeah. I'd like to see all my kids all happy and settled before I step off this molten core, but they're all headed that way, more or less. Anyway, should we crack on? I think we probably should. There is the mystery machine. Oh, let me throw it up again. There's a bit more mystery machine. As I say, I have modified the color, so don't be taken in by the blue. It's a different color under normal circumstances. See what you can come up with on that, and keep the answers coming in on all things related to question of the day. Peter McKenna says, "Meet everyone at the Breakfast Show crew." Wow, wow. Not a great ambition, is it? I mean, you've already knocked off me and Dan, and probably some others as well. Listen, I'd still like to do that. I'd still like to. I will press on in a minute, but I did. There's a YouTuber that I watch who he's an American, and he actually held a retreat. He's got a much bigger audience than I have, and he held a retreat. I think in Colorado, and he had about a dozen of his, keenest followers and fans and that kind of thing, all pitch up, and they spent the weekend barbecuing and drinking beer and sat by the pool and chewing the fat. And I thought, that wouldn't that be fantastic? Wouldn't that be awesome? And I looked into sort of Airbnb and places that we could do it, and it came to about $3,000. And I thought, do you know what? Why don't we all just meet up at Plant Works or Scott Plant or Hillhead or something like that? We shall see. Dan says, "Me too, Peter. A few others are looking to meet." Yeah, well, we will get there. We will get there. Anywho, should we crack on? I think we probably should, because we are 17 minutes in and we haven't done a damn thing yet. So here we go. Sorry, slightly distracted. My wife has just sent me a text about an earthquake in Myanmar. I think it is. Oh, Bangkok. Oh, Jesus. I don't know if I can get that to play again. Oh, there's a tower block coming down in Bangkok. It says Bangkok, but it also says Myanmar. I'm not entirely sure which way round it is, but there you are. Let's have a look. There you are. Peter says, bad earthquake in Myanmar, 7.7. Yeah, I'm just, as I say, just seeing a tower block fall into the ground. Does not look good at all. So I'm not a religious kind of guy, but thoughts and prayers, obviously, over with the folks in Myanmar. Yeah. Komatsu, intelligent machine control. I've got to be honest, it was one of the first types of these driver aids that I ever actually encountered. And it just keeps getting better. I'm going to bring you up to speed with it right now.
Je m'appelle Isabelle Guillard, je suis géomètre voilà, dans les travaux publics depuis 10 ans maintenant chez les SAR-TP.
Moi c'est Frédéric de Guénec, chauffeur de bus depuis 25 ans, dont 3 ans dans l'entreprise Les SAR.
Nous faisons essentiellement...
Bugger. I pulled the wrong film. That's the French version. Pretend that didn't happen. If I can find the English version, I'll get it up in just a moment. But just let's go back to the Mystery Machine while I'm fudging, because I've fucked up. There we are. There is a little bit more Mystery Machine. See what you can come up with on that. We do have a guest over on Instagram from Steve Williamson, who reckons JCB 409 Agri. It is not a 409. It's not an Agri. It's not a JCB, not a JCB of any type. So you'll have to keep working at that, I'm afraid. What have we got here? Let's take this away, because a near completed tower block collapsed during an earthquake. Many workers still trapped. Oh, Jesus. Peter McKenna saying the same thing. Load of construction workers trapped in Bangkok. The main epicenter was Myanmar, but was felt in China and Taiwan. Yes, 7.7. That's a big sucker. I didn't realize, as I say, I mean, I've just seen a very, very quick clip. I don't know if I'll be able to show it to you. Where are we? How did she send it to me? That's the aftermath of that tower block coming down. Not looking good at all. Excuse me. That does explain why there were people in hard hats in the picture. Not good at all. That's not the way to start your morning. Having said that, playing the wrong video is probably not a great way to carry on either. We're going to be back in just a moment with a bit more tech. I'm going to try and find the English version of that Komatsu film while I'm doing this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Chris Ford, question of the day. Famed to be immortal, winning the Mystery Machine 1 month. The 12th of never is one of them. Then I was going to say a different language. Yeah, learn a different language. I'd love to learn another language. I was telling somebody this on Saturday last week. I'm using AI to an increasing degree. And it occurred to me that I could probably train an AI to teach me Italian. Something to do while I'm on the go, because the AI is on there as well as on my computer. So I basically trained it to say, every once in a while, just throw up an Italian lesson, and away we go. So that's what it did. And the first time it did it, it was asking me things like, how do you say good morning? How do you say good evening? Buongiorno, buonasera, and and literally asked me 10 questions, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I thought, well, maybe I'm a natural. Who the hell knows? Following day, it asked me another 10 questions. 8 out of 10. I thought, well, it's a little disappointing, but not too bad. Not too bad. I must be pretty good at this. Third day, asked me 10 questions. 0. I know nothing. I know nothing at all. And I'm still working on it. I am playing around. Just on the subject of, trying to check the name of it. I'm playing around with an AI called Mebot, me.bot, Mebot. It's amazing. It really is. Like I can just say to my phone, remind me to do so and so tomorrow, and it does it. But what it does, it starts to understand you and what you. So I'm putting into it, things that I'm working on, things that I'm writing. And it then says, "Oh, you were working on a thing like that. Have you thought about the connection?" It's smart, really is, absolutely. Apparently, Peter McKenna says there's been an expectation of a large earthquake for about 9 days now. I don't know if that actually makes it any better. Now, here's the thing. I realise things get lost in translation here. But somebody, I can't even pronounce the name. It's spelled Klazhrmi. Klazhrmi? It doesn't matter. Over on Instagram, they joined this stream. Their first words were, "Can I touch you?" Right? And their second offering was, "I'm sexual." Wow. You know what we're talking about, things to accomplish before you die? Well, there's another thing I'd like to accomplish before I die. I'd like to be sexual. That doesn't seem likely. Right, Mystery Machine. Let me go back to that. There we are. That's what we're looking at. We've got some guesses. Dan Cullen reckons that lurking behind that colour scheme could be a Yanmar V80. It's not. He's also saying the Yanmar V7. It's not. In fact, it is not a Yanmar at all, of any description. Mick says, "Our cat showing a new 295 at the Balmer show?" Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. They don't talk to me. Bizarrely, I am talking to their demolition bit, and they and I get on like a house on fire. But they had their trip over to Malaga. I didn't get a sniff as per usual. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. And as it stands at the moment, unfortunately, I was having this conversation with somebody from Lugong last night. Because there are certain companies that prefer to keep us at a safe distance, I guess. We've been away and we've filled our diary. I mean, literally from Monday afternoon through to Saturday morning, my diary at Balmer is full. I mean, I've literally, literally to the point where if I bump into somebody that I know, I'm going to have to keep it to a hello, goodbye. It's that full. So Lugong blew out, and unfortunately, Caterpillar blew out. So, in answer to your question, where is it? Who was asking the question? It was Mick. I don't know, but I'm sure somebody may be able to tell you at some point. I honestly don't know. Ken Hatcher says, "Good morning. Day off, having my teeth cleaned." Okay. I mean, you've got a nice sparkly smile anyway, I'd have thought, Ken, but well done to you. Gary Muirhead, does he work for the NFTC, Mr. Can I Touch You? I think the opposite would be true there. I think it's, if somebody came on from the NFTC, it was, please leave us the fuck alone. Now, let's have a look. We've got Dan Cullen reckons that our mystery machine could be a Kubota R420, which is coincidental because Steve over on Instagram reckons it could be a Kubota R090. It's not one of those at all. Jim Turner is here at last. Morning, peeps. Jesus nipped to Subway and missed most of the bloody show. Not sure I'll do that again. Unfortunately, once again, Jim, you have missed out on the Dancing Girls and the free money. It's all gone. All gone. The Dancing Girls were particularly fine this morning. Chris Ford reckons our mystery machine could be a Lewis Badger. It's not. Gary Muirhead says, was it Caterpillar that said Mark Anthony is high risk? Not Caterpillar, but it was Finning. It was Finning. They don't talk to me either. Let's have a look. Mystery Machine. We've got this one. Schaefer, 1422 SGT. It's not. Dan Cullen. Ken, what, do you not brush your teeth? Yeah, you can have additional cleaning. Listen. Handsome man like Ken Hatcher. I'm sure he needs to look good for the ladies. Mick says, more worried if a bleeding hand came out of the laptop. Not sure the old ticker could take it. Not sure mine could take it either. Anywho, let me show you a bit more of our Mystery Machine. There you are. There are wheels at both ends, which I'm sure comes as no surprise to you whatsoever. While you're figuring that out, I can't find the English film of that Komatsu thing, so I'm going to play you something completely different, which is from Caterpillar. I'm hoping and praying I haven't shown this to you already this morning. I've got so caught up in the chat, I can't remember if I've pressed the button, but I'm fairly sure I haven't. So here's Caterpillar's collision mitigation.
Getting ready to head to your location.
Sorry, just slightly distracted. I had a. He's actually answering the question himself, but I'm going to go back to it when I can find it. Where is he? It's Peter McKenna I'm looking for. He said, has anyone heard of heap excavators? There we are. And yes, I kind of have. You might remember back in the day, we actually had a company called Built Robotics on this show talking about this. I have just had a look to make sure I was looking at the right thing. If you have a look in the chat, there is a link to a YouTube video featuring. It's basically a contest between a heap robot, which is Built Robotics system, and a human operator. Makes for fascinating viewing. So go and take a look at that. Let me get rid of. Oh, he then comes back and says, in tests, Heap was able to create a two-faced embankment with a 0.03 meter average error, as well as a more challenging S-curve embankment. Yeah, but go and take a look. Go take a look. Let's have a look, get that out the way. What have we got in terms? Jim Turner asked that. I have reposted. What's the question of the day, please? The question of the day is, what is one thing you would like to achieve before you go to meet your maker? Came courtesy of Gary Muirhead. Dan Cullen is out of here. He says, must go sort a few things. Have a great weekend, guys. Stay safe and be happy. Yeah, do that. Which means that the Mystery Machine is still very much open. There is a bit more bucket. I'm not sure that helps at all. We've had that one from Chris Ford, who reckons it could be an L75 from Bobcat. He also reckons it could also be an L85 or even an L95. It's none of those things. Chris Ford also says an L30G from Volvo. It is not. Let me show you a smidgen more. There you are. It's nobody's even close yet, I can tell you. Just making sure I've covered all of that. Ken Hatcher, going back to that collision mitigation thing. Problem with that type of system, it'll be beeping all day long on site. Yes, I'm sure it would. East Coast Demolition just joined us over on Instagram. Morning, Ricky. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. Good to see you here. Yeah, you put a video up on Instagram yesterday, I think it was. Yesterday, the day before. Absolute. I'm trying to think of an American word, but let's go with a British word. An absolute stonker. A good movie. Yeah, fantastic. Keep up the good work, my friend. Good to see you here. Let me take that away for the moment. What we got coming up? Oh, yeah, we've got more tech, this time from Liebherr. Back in a second.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
We're getting closer and closer to my morning monologue today, and I have to say, I mean, they are all my children. All of the morning monologues are my children, but I'm really quite proud of this one, so stick around if you can. There is our mystery machine. I'll show you a smidgen more. I can tell you that we've had that from Chris, the L30G Volvo. It's not. And Peter McKenna reckons the New Holland WX40. It's not one of those. Peter also reckons it could be a 938 EV from XCMG. It is not. Gary Muirhead, question of the day: to be able to meet up with all the guys from the show and not at anyone's funeral. That would be, yeah. Let's make that an ambition, shall we? We will do that. We will take a time and we will actually do that. I keep putting it off and putting it off, and I realise it's not easy because obviously Gary and Steve way up in Scotland. Got several in the Midlands, me and Dan and Mick down south. There's not an easy way to do it, but I'm sure we can overcome at some point. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more. Yeah, let's do a bit of Liebherr technology like this. See, some people lack ambition. Me, I'd like somebody at some point to say, "Yeah, you're pretty good with that grammar stuff." Not Jim. Not Jim. What does he want to achieve before he steps off this mortal coil? He would like to own a herd of belted Galloways. I'm assuming belted Galloways are probably cows. I can't say I'm absolutely sure. Who the hell knows? He wants to dig his own reservoir with hydroelectric power plant, have his own vintage tractor and plant show, working weekend, get into machine testing development, and get my machine ideas built by a manufacturer. I have a lot of goals, don't you just? And I'm going to bow to, listen, I am the wordsmith around here, but sometimes Mick just pops up and says exactly what I'm thinking. Me, Jim, you want a lot. Yeah. Nothing wrong with a bit of ambition. Peter McKenna reckons our mystery machine could well be a Kramer 5055E. It is not. And I can't actually show you any more because if I do, you'll know exactly what it is. So you'll just have to keep guessing based on that. Anybody got anything? Let me know. We're coming back with Wacker in a moment, just after this. Peter reckons that our mystery machine could be a multi-one Namibia. It's not. Don't be fooled by the colour. I added that colour. It's not normally that colour, but I can see why you're going for that. Yeah, Wacker Neuson, one of the most innovative companies in the sphere of construction equipment, like wheel loaders, dumpers, and all those kind of things. But they started with that thing that bears their name, the Wacker plate, and they're still doing it, and they're still doing it really rather well.
Wacker Neuson, setting the standard in compaction equipment with our new series of reversible plates. You can choose between diesel and petrol in 2 different weight classes. Our diesel machines are 430 and 490 kilos, and the petrol machines 373 and 435 kilos. Each machine is perfectly designed for maximum performance to save you time and money. Get best-in-class handling with our new drawbar concept and the optimized base plate design. The transport and working positions are easily adjustable, leading to less operator fatigue. Our unique low working position allows you to get under any trench shoring. Ergonomic controls make operation even easier with our new control center. The perfectly protected throttle lever lets you start the engine at the push of a button. The bright LED display provides machine info to the operator. Compaction control is within the operator's field of view. An optional telematics module can be used to track your compaction progress along with other vital machine info from your desktop or smartphone. The lower hand arm vibration reduces operator fatigue and eliminates the need for documentation. The base plate is made of an extremely durable cast ductile iron and is easy to clean thanks to its open design. Efficiency meets comfort. The new vibratory plates from Wacker Neuson.
Yeah, synonymous. A Wacker plate. Everyone knows what a Wacker plate is. And there they are. Our friend Wolfie has just joined us all the way from the mighty US of A. Unfortunately, my friend, I'll come back to your answer to the question of the day. We are going to go out of sync as of next week. I've already said this on the show. Our clocks are going forward. They're going forward 1 hour. So we'll be even further ahead of you in the day. But your answer to the question of the day, be financially well off. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad, would it? Gary says it's funny how we can call a small plate compactor a Wacker plate, even if it's from a different brand. Yeah, it's much the same as the BBC. Any type of machine, generally a backhoe loader, but any type of machine, always a JCB. So why does it say Caterpillar on the side? You pillock. Let's have a look. Mystery Machine is going right down to the wire, and nobody's got the right answer yet. Gary is going for the Devellon DL80 TL. It's not. Peter McKenna going for the Wiedemann 2060. It's not. He's also gone for the Wiedemann 2080. Not that. Chris Wald, has anyone said JCB 408 yet? Well, you have. Still not right. Not a JCB of any kind. Take it away. We've got a slightly longer film for you today, mainly because it looks lovely, for our mission to Munich part, getting ready for Balma. So back after this.
Think you can stop what we do? I doubt it. We've got the energy, we'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, I was browsing YouTube yesterday looking for more stuff to feature on here that's going to be at Balma, and came across a company that I literally didn't know about, a company called Gersan, who are a crusher manufacturer. I'm pretty sure I remember them being from Turkey. They had a film on their YouTube channel, but they had it silent. So I took it away, put some music to it. It's 3 minutes long, and I think you'll enjoy it. Sit back and let this wash over you. There you are. I thought that was going to fade out, but it didn't. Very, very impressive. And it was me thinking that all crushers were born and raised in Ireland. Most of them are, actually. I want to say a very quick thank you. Before I declare my own personal victory, I want to say thank you to MB Crusher for supporting this part of the show.
Hey, turn this TV off. Ain't want my type activity, but don't you get involved. Hey, what? How many shit I seen? Send them off. Take a risk or take a trip. You know I'm tripping for my dog.
Yeah, I've won the Mystery Machine, and I do realise I've just made a frightful mistake. So bear with me for 1 second, because I do need. Well, let me show you first of all. The Mystery Machine is, in fact, that it is a Kubota R640. What I didn't do was preserve the picture that I originally started with, which was the same machine but in orange. So bear with me 2 seconds. I'm sure I can find it. There we are. That is how it's supposed to look. So yeah, it's 3 points to me, which means not only have I won today, I've won the month. First time ever. Yay me. Whatever. Yeah, so no prize this month. Have to work a bit harder next month. Obviously, there's going to be a big gap in next month because I'm going to be away for the entire duration of Balmer. This time next week will be my last show for about 10 days. So yeah, but we'll bring the Mystery Machine back. Don't worry about that. That's about it for the main part of this morning show. It's also the last, the main. That's about it also for the week because it's Friday. That's the way Fridays work. I want to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be right back after this. So I will get to the morning monologue in just a moment, but there we are. Ken Hatcher says, well done. Our friend Wolfie says, give yourself some confetti. I can do that. I can do that. Where do I keep that? I keep that. There you go. Yay me. Yay me. I correctly identified a machine that I knew what it was in the first place. Yeah, it's a funny old game, isn't it? Peter says, I did think Kubota, but thought some might have got that earlier. Several people said Kubota. Nobody got the right model. So there we are. Anyway, it is our morning monologue time. So pin your ears back because, yeah, well, here it goes. The job of the journalist is to report that which is current, to capture the zeitgeist, to give voice to a topic or an issue that is currently of discussion or concern. Well, that's traditionally how it works. But we have no time for tradition or convention around these parts. And so rather than reporting on that which is in the headlines, today I'm going to report on that which isn't. In fact, if I were to hold up a mirror on the industry, if I were to hold up a mirror to the industry on this, the image would be precisely what Dracula sees during his morning shave. Nothing. So in preparation for today's show, we do it again. So in preparation for today's monologue, I spent some time trawling through the self-aggrandizing. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? So in preparation for today's article, morning monologue, call it what you will, I spent some time trawling through the self-aggrandizing corporate hellscape that is social media. All the usual suspects were there. The companies, their PR people, the influencers, the fascists, the conspiracy theorists, and those wading through the swamp-like ramblings in search of a job. But I'll tell you what wasn't there. Any mention of the demolition and construction industry's mental health and suicide crisis. Not a single solitary post. No virtual signalling companies, no trade bodies riding the bandwagon, no charities calling for change, no individuals sharing their own experience. Is it possible that we've belatedly stemmed the tide? Of course not. The truth is, there's a day for this, and today is not that day. It is apparently Black Forest Gatto Day, but there's no industry brownie points to be scored with that, so that doesn't get a mention either. Are demolition and construction workers still suffering? Yes, of course they are. Has the tidal wave of suicides receded? I've seen nothing to suggest that that's the case. But in demolition and construction, our concern is compartmentalized. We've allocated a specific time to feign concern about mental health, and today, our concern calendar is fully booked with something else. Should I tell you something else that's not on the industry agenda for today? I hunted high and low, desperately seeking some mention of women in construction, but I could find none. The entire spectrum, from the female construction workers calling out misogyny to petty discussions about ill-fitting PPE, all gone. Has equality suddenly been accomplished while I was looking the other way? Are we finally hiring people based upon skill, competence, and aptitude rather than testicle ownership? Of course not. Perish the thought. The age of the girly calendar in the site canteen, the inappropriate comment about a female worker's rear end, and the unwanted sexual harassment is still alive and groping. But like mental health and suicide, we have a day for pink and girly things. And today is not that day. It's not the day to discuss the industry's racial imbalance either. Black Lives Matter. Just not today. Falls from height, slips, trips and falls, being crushed by equipment are still of concern too, only less so. The Health and Safety Executive is currently focused on spreading the word about the new Building Safety Act. All that stuff that injures, maims and kills will just have to wait its turn. Also notably absent from social media and the industry headlines are mentions of the prolonged, protracted and unresolved investigations into the fatal accidents at Didcot and at Redcar. I mean, I'm sure the bereaved families of the individuals involved are thinking of nothing else today and every day. But the demolition and construction sector is cursed with a nasty case of attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, and it can only concentrate on one thing at a time. The death of 6 men at 2 locations and in 2 separate incidents is just too much for it to deal with. So we'll just have to wait until the anniversary of their passing rolls around again. I then looked really long and really hard. Do you know what else I couldn't find? Any mention of the CMA investigation. In fact, I searched and I just kept coming back to me and to this show, because apparently that too has fallen off the industry's front pages. Now, by now, you're probably thinking that the industry has committed rather a lot to its back burner. But you're wrong. The industry doesn't actually have a back burner. Instead, it has a conveyor belt of concern that travels in a constant loop. Each concern, each challenge, each issue passing before our eyes like those tiny coloured plates at an outlet of Yo Sushi. When each plate is in front of us, it gets our total and undivided attention. But the moment it moves on, it's forgotten. And we won't think about it again until that ceaseless conveyor belt lays it before us again in 365 days' time. Between times, workers remain stressed and suicidal. Women remain marginalised and objectified. Sites remain stubbornly white, male and heterosexual. People continue to be injured and killed, and accident investigations progress with all the haste of continental drift. And all the while, we wonder why the industry feels like it's ground to a halt. At least we will wonder that, just as soon as the appropriate day rolls around in our collective calendar. That's the thing. A couple of things before I head over into the chat. The first is, can you imagine the national and international news behaving in the same way? Yes, the war in Ukraine is still raging, thousands of people being killed. We'll have a special programme for you about that on the 17th of August. Gaza, oh yeah, still a thing, but we're going to make that part of our Christmas TV schedule. And the second point is this. Isn't this very convenient for those that should be implementing change, but that aren't? I mean, sure, they have to go through the motions of compassion and empathy a few times a year just to tick the boxes. But the rest of the time, all this stuff is off the agenda. Women in construction, yeah, we've done that for this year. Let's not worry about that again. Suicide, yes, tick that box. We worry about that some other time. Every single time. And we wonder why we're stuck. We wonder why nothing is being done. And the reasons nothing's being done is because we only look at it once a year. You know, as if you know, paying lip service to the subject of women in construction. You do it once, the problem is solved. Is it really? Is it really? Anywho, Gary Muirhead says, headlines today, fish and chip paper tomorrow. Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. And I understand that. You know, I mean, with stuff that is timely, things like, you know, this business with Trump's highly switched on folks releasing details of a bombing raid to a journalist. There'll be a furore around it. It'll last for a few days, possibly a few weeks. Maybe they'll find a scapegoat that will get the tin tack. That's the sack, in case you're wondering. And then we'll move on. Because that's a point in time. It's a thing that's happened, and we're kind of past it. I hate to say it, and I know we did have a quick update. There we are. Mick saying about this earthquake over in Myanmar. Up to 3 dead and 90 missing in that collapse. But again, we'll all send our condolences. Maybe there'll be a charity fundraising thing. But then we'll move on. But things like investigations into accidents, until they're resolved, they don't stop. They're still current. Things like gender and racial imbalance in construction, they don't stop either. Until we've actually achieved some degree of equality within the industry, those don't go away. Until we've got the suicide rate down, well, ideally to 0, but until we've got it down to the same level as the rest of the country, instead of 4 times the national average, that is a thing that is a constant concern. Mental health is a constant concern. Falls from height, slips and trips. And I realise the health and safety executive is grossly undermanned, grossly underfunded, grossly understaffed, but focusing on one thing at a time, to a large degree, detracts from everything else. Gary Muirhead, obviously going back to work, says, have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Spend some time with your family. Yeah, absolutely. Mick says, you try and find a chip shop using paper with headlines on. Do they not do that anymore? Do they not? I've got to be honest, my local chip shop is it's a bit poncy, and not because of where I live. It just happens to be. You go and get your fish and chips, and it comes in a cardboard box that's lined with greaseproof paper. And it's good, don't get me wrong. Nice bit of haddock and chips, happy days, but it's not quite the same. Whatever happened to that bit of soggy, vinegar-laden newspaper? It was fine by me, absolutely fine by me. Going back to the subject of the morning monologue, this conveyor belt of concern lets people off the hook. That's what it does. And I know I complained about it during National or International Mental Health Week. I complained about it in the day dedicated to women in construction and so on down the line. It's a nonsense, because your major contractors, your trade organisations, they pop along. They've in all likelihood they have created their social media posts for Women in Construction Day, Mental Health Awareness, all the other landmark days. They probably did that November, December last year, and they've just gone onto their various social media platforms and say, okay, trigger that one on that day, trigger that one. That doesn't mean they're actually working on it. It just means that they've, we're going to wave a flag. Women in construction. Yes. So we'll get Betty out of the office to say how great it is to be a woman in construction. Is it? When she's working completely surrounded by hairy-assed, smelly men, is it really good? Does she go through a day without any kind of abuse or harassment? Probably not. Mick says, bloody government stopped it, all down to the ink used. Listen, I'm 60 years old and I was raised on eating ink, and there's nothing wrong with me. You can go too far, We were discussing this. I may have even mentioned on the show, we were talking about this when I was doing, I was going to say I did the Bermondsey Beer Mile. That's not true, because I wasn't actually involved in the beer part of it. But I was down in Bermondsey on Saturday last week to celebrate my mate's retirement. And you get to talking about old days, because retirement time, you do tend to look back, and you think about how kids are wrapped in cotton wool these days. They've all got their sun hats, and they're all slathered in suntan lotion, if the sun pops out from behind a cloud for even a nanosecond. How they're all fully hydrated. They're all walking around with water bottles with their name on it. I could go 12 hours with no food, no drink, as a kid, and be quite happy about it. In fact, being called in for your dinner or have you had a drink? Mum, stop, you're interrupting my fun. Did I have sunstroke? Twice. Once was entirely my own fault. I was fishing and being very silly, and I got sunstroke. But I survived. Nothing happened to me. 12 hours a day. Come the summer holidays, 12 hours a day. Out the door by 8 o'clock to go and kick a football around or ride my bike or throw a frisbee or ride a skateboard. Get back about 8 o'clock at night under sufferance and go and have something to eat. Was I thirsty? A bit. Had I gone beak down at any point during the day? No, not at all. We live in an age now, I think, of conspicuous concern. It's like this tick box mentality of social media. Oh, women in construction, tick. Mental health, tick. Has my child got a sun hat on his way to school because he wouldn't want to stand out with all the others that have, tick. Has my child got a water bottle, tick. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. As I say, imagine if the news cycle is an interesting comparison. This has literally just occurred to me while I was thinking this. One of my concerns with the way that the media works these days is the fact that it is a rolling 24 hours. So you end up with the news organisations, particularly those on TV, looking to fill their allocated time online and on air. Back in my day, there was a 9 o'clock news or a 10 o'clock news, depending which channel you watched. So you got maybe 30 minutes, sometimes an hour of news. Here's everything you possibly need to know. As a result, you didn't get too many stories about cats stuck up trees or any of that sort of nonsense. That's not what we've got now. We've got this rolling news programs where we need to tick all the boxes and we need to keep things rolling. The issue with some of the subjects we've talked about today, mental health, women in construction, racial inequality, slips, trips and falls and all that kind of thing, is that's not just 24/7. That's 365 days a year until the end of life. And yet while the news rolls 24/7 and is constantly searching for things to do, over here we have concerns that roll for 24 hours a day, but we only highlight them once a year. So it's a weird paradox, and I think we've got the balance wrong. And genuinely, I'm genuinely asking the question here: what is being done today? Today. What is today? It's Friday the 26th of March. Friday the 28th of March. My apologies. What is being done today to bring the Didcot investigation to fruition? What is being done today to lessen the skill shortage? What is being done today to actually put more women in construction? What is being done today to prevent the next suicide in the industry? Anything? Anything at all? No, I didn't think so. Mick says it's a nanny state. Our kids wrapped up in cotton wool. Only time I saw cotton wool was if I ended up in the Hackney Hospital after falling out of a tree. Yeah. do you remember? I mean, my grandparents would probably laugh and fall off a chair if I tell them. Do you remember what olive oil used to be used for? Yeah. Stick it in your ear hole. If you had an earache, there you go, glug of olive oil. Eat it? Are you fucking mad? Who would do that? Who would eat olive oil? Well, me for one. Yeah, when in your luggo, as we used to say. Mick says that's if the old girl thought I was badly hurt enough, or was it a clip round the ear and told the sod off? Yeah. I'm sure I've recounted this before. Very stupidly once when I was about 13, something like that, climbed up a lamppost. I don't know why I climbed up a lamppost. It was there, and I was bored, so I climbed up a lamppost. Got all the way to the top, and to make it properly spectacular, I slid back down again. Unbeknown to me, there was a metal buckle around the bottom of the the light. Basically making sure that nobody could get in and interfere with the electrics. And I slid down and it sliced through like my inner thigh. Didn't really hurt, not a big deal. Sliced through my jeans, sliced through my leg. So I went home and to be perfectly honest with you, I was more concerned with saying to my mum, I've ruined a pair of jeans, Mum, I've just cut a big hole in them. So I went in and I said, I've cut my jeans, I've cut my leg. And she went, let's have a look. Not impressed at all. And she took one look and screamed because apparently she says it was fat. I swear to this day that it was muscle because, I was playing a lot of football at the time. But she said there was fat hanging out of the wound, at which point my dad was summoned and I was whisked off to the hospital. But I was more concerned about the fact that I'd ruined a perfectly good pair of jeans. Jim Turner says, I take national statistics with a pinch of salt. Prefer to rely on what I see. Like women in construction, diversity on site and so on. Basically, nothing has changed in the last 30 years. So all the preaching has been worthless. Jim, yeah. I'm going to come back to this very quickly. Jim also says, Popeye would eat olive oil. That's a whole other subject. Yeah, that's exactly it. I go not as much as I used to, but I'm on and off sites, and if I see a woman, it's still unusual. If I see a non-white face, it's still unusual. Am I still reporting on fatalities and accidents? Doing more now than I was 5 years ago? Yep. Has anything changed? Nope. Skill shortage, am I still talking about that? It's worse now than it's ever been. I've been talking about it for 35 years. As Jim has rightly said, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. We've ticked a lot of boxes. We've instigated a lot of campaigns and initiatives. We've posted a lot on social media. We've made some very deep and meaningful and emotionally contrite statements. Has anything changed? Nope. Not a thing. Not a thing. And on that note, on that happy note, I'm going to love you and leave you. We've got a full week next week of our breakfast shows, and then I've got a week gap because I'm going to be off in Munich with Steve Williamson and Ed Butler and Tristan Mays and a whole bunch of other people besides. So I'll see you again on Monday morning. Hope you all have a good weekend. Look after yourselves. Try not to let any of this nonsense bother you. It is tomorrow's chip paper, so it doesn't really matter that much. Right, it's double day. The hound needs to cock his leg, and I get an afternoon in the pub listening to a blues band. Yeah, Mick, you're living the life, mate, aren't you? Pie and mash, time with the dog, blues band. If you're a little bit closer, I'd come and keep you company, but yeah, things to do. Anyway, people, go and have a fantastic day. Have a great weekend. See you again on Monday morning. Till then, look after yourselves, would you? Because I'd quite like to see you again next week. See you then.